Rhetoric on race heating up tonight in the crucible of a presidential campaign. Meanwhile, in Utah, much more measured approach this weekend as people from opposite sides of the political spectrum sat down to discuss police reform. So let's continue that conversation now with Black Lives Matter Utah founder Lex Scott and Republican Senator from Utah Mike Lee. Great to have you both with us.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, so Lex, I know you want to make clear that this is an independent organization. You started years ago. You're not affiliated with any kind of national organization, and Black Lives Matter will say there isn't one. It's a movement, it's an idea, and there is no structure from the top down. So tell us about the conversations you've been having. You say you don't want violence, but you do want to talk about real change. How did this come together that you're sitting down with the GOP senator to talk about it?
Well, I'm happy to reach across the aisle. We spoke for a while about the reforms that we're pushing for. So we're pushing for data collection, independent civilian review boards, qualified immunity reform, body cam footage legislation, and I've actually spoken with Mitt Romney about this as well. So I'm working on both sides of the aisle right now.
Okay, so Senator, were there things that you and Lex discussed that you thought, I can get behind that? These are things that we can come together around and try to move something forward.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I appreciate about Lex Scott is that she's got a real commitment to this effort. And she understands that the story of America is in many ways the story of police reform. Government power is official coercive force. And so it has to be managed very carefully so that we can respect the dignity and eternal value of every human soul. That's what she wants to do, and I'm interested in working with her on it.
Yeah, and Lex, I know that you said, listen, you started this work years ago. People wouldn't show up for meetings. They wouldn't show up for protests. And now the world has changed. What does it mean to you now to see people who are willing to have these conversations, who will show up for protests? Peaceful is what you're backing, as we said, but that it's a different world, a different conversation now.
It's surreal. I feel like we've been ignored for 6 years, and now the world is finally listening. And it won't mean anything if we don't get real reform. And I think that's where we're headed right now. A lot of bills are going to be up on the Hill locally and nationally. So I'm hoping that we can have a bipartisan bill. That is what I really got excited about when I heard that Senator Lee wanted to meet with me. So I'm hoping we can have a bipartisan police reform bill. And I'm asking that Republicans and Democrats come to the table.
Yeah, there's an opinion piece in the LA Times when the last effort at trying to do this on Capitol Hill didn't come together. The column said Congress had a chance for bipartisan police reform. Both parties failed. It says Congress's reputation for gridlock has been richly earned. Republicans and Democrats who spoke to each other, a minority on Capitol Hill, said they believed compromise was possible. What went wrong? Both sides behaved badly, each surrendered to internal political pressures. Senator, what happened, and is there a chance to move forward again on this, especially in, a really tough election year?
Well, look, insofar as the Senate is concerned, we had the opportunity to move on to a bill. There was a bill that had been presented by Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. It wasn't a perfect bill, but it was a step in the right direction. Senator Scott and Majority Leader McConnell had agreed to allow it to be amended on the Senate floor. We could have and should have improved that into something much better, something much more complete, had we just voted to get on the bill. Unfortunately, Senate Democrats chose to vote against getting onto the bill and making it better. I had a good conversation with some colleagues today, and there is some renewed effort to get the Tim Scott bill back on the floor, and I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic we can move forward with it.
Okay, and quickly, Cato today had a study out that said 62% of Americans say they have political views they are afraid to share. Lex, what would you say to people that are worried about offending someone, about getting fired, about having these difficult conversations that we need to have?
We need to have uncomfortable conversations about race. We need to talk about it and realize that every single person, including myself, can do something racially insensitive. Every single person, whether you have 1,000 black friends, relatives, anything. And when we do something racially insensitive, I feel like we should learn from it and kind of improve ourselves. So please have tough conversations. And if Republican lawmakers are listening, please work with Senator Lee, Mitt Romney up there, and kind of have a bipartisan bill come through, have those tough conversations about police reform, because this is our time. We have this little piece of time that we can change the world. So I'm begging, please someone pass a police reform bill in Washington.
Lex Scott, Senator Mike Lee, you inspire the rest of us to sit down and do this, and we will encourage our lawmakers on the Hill to as well. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.